On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we are going to review Wonka, the Timothée Chalamet prequel. We will start off non-spoilers, and then we'll dive into a spoiler-filled discussion. Don't worry, we will warn you before we do that. If you want to jump straight to that review, use those time codes down in the description. But beforehand, we're going to rate some of the news from this week in the world of entertainment. Holden, what are our stories this week?
Yeah, so some of the ones we're going to be talking about are, we're going to look at the trailers for Civil War and If, as well as we have some exciting Saw news.
Yes.
And also we'll talk about a Death Stranding A24 movie.
Ooh,
so
tantalizing.
yes,
Ooh.
Interesting little bits here.
Yeah, as always, use the time codes down in the description or in the show notes to jump straight to any of those conversations. Look at all the different topics we're going to talk about this week. Or if you want to just stick around for the whole show, feel free to do that as well.
Yes.
I'm Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for Tom.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
All right, Jimmy. Before we talk Wonka, let's do some Toms.
Let's do some Toms.
The Toms. Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of three famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron. Brokaw is the highest, Bombadil is the lowest, and Bergeron is somewhere in between.
Well
Jimmy, let's get to it.
Exceptional start to the podcast
Worked
this
really
week.
well, yeah.
Yeah, we are on the A game today, firing on all cylinders.
Let's hope we keep it up. No guarantees.
2 minutes in to the hour and a half podcast, probably. All right, Holden, Civil War trailer, not the Captain America variety, but the Alex Garland variety, maker of one of my favorite films ever in Ex Machina, and also the maker of Men, which is one of the worst movies from last year that we saw.
We did not like Men. I also don't. The one time I saw it, I didn't really like Annihilation either, but it's been a while. But
I like Annihilation.
But he's written a lot of stuff too, like Sunshine and 28 Days Later and stuff. He's very prolific.
And now, Holden, he's making a movie about an American Civil War.
Yeah. As a British man.
Look, we kind of tore Men to shreds. And just like Alex Garland seemed to realize that, men can be sexist. And he seemed to just realize that. Or like, I think there's, you know what? There might be a patriarchy.
Yeah, it didn't really feel like there was much depth to his themes he was going for. It was very like hit you over the head with the same thing for an hour
in the
and a
most
half or whatever
artsy,
it was.
fartsy, pretentious way possible.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, you know what? Men can be bad, but I'm not one of the bad guys.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. And now it seems like, America can be divisive, and that's not good for anybody.
I guess to this movie's credit over Men, granted, we just know this trailer. I mean, it looks more exciting, and interesting. It doesn't look like it's going to be it is going to take itself seriously, but it's not going to be as artsy fartsy, I guess.
Yeah, it's just more straight up entertainment, like blockbuster-esque, more towards that than the art house slow burn.
Yeah, but I guess the issues lie more in the fact that it seems like a man who just doesn't really understand the actual American political divide that well.
Well, the clear standout thing is if you're an American, the thing that jumps out to you from the trailer, which is why it's the top comment, and you don't need to be a genius because it's everybody's first thought when you watch this is, why are Texas and California on the same side? It's not the case. I do understand Texas is more purple now than it has been in the past, but you think of
why would you
typical
put those
blue
two
state
together?
California, typical red state Texas is like the first ones that come to mind. So them forming an alliance is interesting. He's maybe has some weird way of explaining it.
The movie might explain it a little bit better, and it might make it. it's fine if it's not trying to be just reality, because honestly that might be more entertaining, but it's clearly playing into our current political divide and everything. And everyone's always on the internet is always like, oh, we're like brink of civil war and everything, so this is like pushing it to that point. But yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to see how the nuance of the politics is in this movie.
Yeah. Got some people in it that we like, though. We got some Kirsten Dunst. Got some
Jesse
Plemons,
husband and wife duo.
Yes, the husband-wife duo, and Jesse Plemons, the most underrated actor in Hollywood, currently working.
Yeah.
And we also have Nick Offerman as the president of the United States. Like to see that. So that's exciting to see from this. Kirsten Dunst seems to be is she a journalist or something?
Yeah,
or?
a reporter of some sort, it seems. I don't know. Takes a lot of pictures. That's why I assume it.
Maybe she's working for the Daily Bugle.
Maybe. That'd be pretty cool.
I am very I just have a feeling this movie is going to be a miss. But I will give it a Bergeron because hopefully it won't be boring. Alex Garland, I really liked Ex Machina.
Yeah. It's apparently A24's highest budget movie, which
looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like it. Looks like there's a lot of money behind it. But yeah, I'll probably at a Bergeron for this. I mean, we'll watch it, I'm sure. Let's hope it's more Ex Machina than it is Men.
Yeah, just be entertaining. That's all I ask of this movie.
Entertaining and interesting. Yeah.
Speaking of artsy fartsy, Kung Fu Panda 4, Holden.
Yeah, quite the jump there. Yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4, new DreamWorks movie in the famous series of the same name. I quite like all three Kung Fu Panda movies, honestly. I don't know how many of you've seen?
I've seen one. I think I've seen two. I don't think I saw three. I couldn't tell you anything about these other than the first one, he becomes the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah.
I could not tell you anything about it. This looks fun. I think it looks nice. It makes me want to go back and see these movies, but how long has it been since the last one?
It's been a while because the three, I feel like I was in high school when that came out. Maybe 2016 is what I'll guess.
So Kung Fu Panda 1 is 2008.
Yeah.
Then we got 2011, 2016 for Kung Fu Panda 3.
Okay, so it's not that much of a difference of jump between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. But yeah, I think the Kung Fu Panda movies, I don't think they're obviously not like high art or anything, but I think in terms of like DreamWorks, just fun animated adventure movies, they're really quite solid. They're maybe just like, it's kind of similar to how I feel about How to Train Your Dragon. I think How to Train Your Dragon is probably a little better, but I think in general it's like another trilogy of just solid animated movies that maybe get looked down upon because it has a fat panda who likes food and farts sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do think there's more to it than that. I think there's quite a bit of heart to it. And I think Jack Black is great as Poe, of course. I watched the first one a lot as a kid, so I probably have some bias, like nostalgia bias towards that one, but 2 and 3 are actually pretty solid as well. Granted, it has been a while since I've seen those, but I might rewatch all 3 before this new one comes out. Anyway, the trailer. What'd you think of the trailer?
Yeah, I think it looks fun. I mean, it's Kung Fu Panda, but now we got Aquafina. We got some K-Wakon. That's fun. You got the Taskmaster is the villain, essentially, where it's just chameleon. Like the chameleon who's taking all the powers of everybody. I think that looks fun. I think the little like kids who are super into violence and destruction, that's really funny.
Yeah.
I can speak from experience that's exactly like what little kids are into. So yeah, no, I think it just looks like a good time. I thought the bit where he's thinking about dinner with peas and with the soy sauce, whatever he says, him thinking about food, classic bit. Jack Black is great in the role. And I think it just looks like a nice, fun time. That's what I would say. I'm going to give it a Baroka. Holden.
Yeah, so the villain is the chameleon. It's played by Viola Davis, I guess, when I saw. So that's cool. But yeah, her whole thing is she seems to be able to take the abilities of different people. She takes the ability of the villain from the first movie.
Yeah.
I think it's rumored, but basically confirmed that the other villains from the other movies are also going to be like their powers are going to be taken as well in some capacity. So probably see them in some way. The third movie's villain is voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Oh, wow.
Which I always forget about. And Bryan Cranston is Poe's dad in the third movie, I guess.
Okay.
So I don't know, just interesting voice casting, and I think he's back in this one too. Yeah, I think it looks pretty solid though. So I'll give it a Brokaw.
Sweet. Holden, let's talk about the new Ryan Reynolds movie from John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, of course,
Directed and written by him, I think.
Yeah, he wrote and directed A Quiet Place 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Did he write those both by himself? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
He's definitely directed both of those. This is his next movie coming out, kids movie.
Yeah.
Imaginary Friends, if it's an abbreviation. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on this one?
It looks all right. I think it looks like fine. It looks creative. I didn't think the sense of humor in the trailer really landed with me, which granted, I think with kind of when we'll talk about Wonka this week, trailers can be a bit misleading in that regard, I think in some cases, but I don't know. It didn't really hit. I'm very vocal on not liking Ryan Reynolds. So, granted, he didn't do his like Ryan Reynolds shtick too much in this trailer, so it could be a bit different. But he's not a selling point on this movie for me, in and of itself. What do you think?
I'm not anti Ryan Reynolds. I think we got oversaturated with Ryan Reynolds for a while, and him playing the exact same thing. I think the shtick got old. The Ryan Reynolds shtick.
Just the Deadpool shtick, but in non-Deadpool movies.
Yeah. This movie just looks like a movie that is not for me. Like,
yeah.
The premise seems a little bit like Monsters, Inc., but not as interesting. Mm-hmm. They're imaginary friends, and their children have grown up, so they need new children to be their friends. Otherwise, I'm assuming they'll disappear. Or they'll be super lonely forever, something really sad. And so they go on an adventure, Ryan Reynolds and this little girl. So that's cool.
I do like the styles that these different like animated or these different imaginary friends are like animated in. It is like seemingly from what we saw in the trailer, it's like all 3D animated, but they at least make them look different in a lot of different ways. There's like these weird painting looking people. There's one that looks like Cuphead-esque kind of whatever you call 1930s noodle hose animation, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's some interesting things in that regard, but yeah, overall it's just not really my thing.
Look, I like Steve Carell a lot. His voice as the big monster, the main one, guy, does not work for me. It just is like that doesn't seem like the voice that would come out of that, and it's not working for me. And the whole joke where it's like, if you don't let him say if, he might explode. I'm like, that.
It's just not very funny.
And it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, it's so long in the trailer.
So look, it looks like a kid's movie that is pretty much for kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be very creative. It could be cool. That's fine. I mean, it's a movie that I wouldn't be opposed to like seeing myself, like if it does get good reviews, but. And it's always great seeing like kids movies, be so creative and everything, but like the sense of humor just doesn't really work for me. And I don't know, a lot of it just looks kind of meh.
Yeah. Well, I like, like you have Pixar movies where it's like, okay, let's take some aspect from life and then let's flesh out a whole world for it.
Yeah.
Which it seems like, and maybe there's more to it, but the trailer seems to indicate that, look, there's all these imaginary friends that the kids just grew up, so they're just don't really have anything to do. And like if there is a whole world, then there's all these creative things that go along with it. Great, but it seems like it's lacking that extra layer of creativity and intrigue within the premise. At least it wasn't conveyed to me by the trailer. And the trailer itself, what I saw, is not pushing me towards seeing this. It basically goes to show that looks fine for what it is, not my cup of tea. So I'm going to give it a Bergeron.
It did remind me of that like random trailer we saw a week or two ago, that teddy bear like horror movie. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's also like an imaginary friend. I don't know. That movie didn't look very good, but just reminded me of that
Blumhouse thing or something.
Yeah. I'll give it a Bergeron.
That is not what came to my mind, but yeah, I think this movie would be better than the teddy bear murder movie.
Probably.
All right. We've been burying the lead, Holden. What is the best news of the week?
Best news of the week is obviously that they confirmed Saw 11 is in the works.
Oh, yeah.
And Jimmy got this little dancing Billy the Puppet.
Oh, yeah.
Nice little focus in on there.
There we go. The lighting's a little bit
solar powered. It's like the cats,
yeah,
the lucky
waving
cats from China.
Yeah, waving cat. So apparently it'll like move like this as you're hearing the sound of the enough light. So I'll just leave it there and we'll see what happens. If it gets loud, we'll move it. But there we go. Just, we could use it as a little trophy, a little something for the pod. We don't get enough Saw on this pod, clearly.
Yeah, never enough Saw.
But Saw 11, Holden, man, am I excited.
I know.
September 27th, 2024.
I saw it get like tweeted, or I saw someone retweet like the announcement. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then I immediately texted Jimmy. I was out door dashing at the time, but I stopped what I was doing to like send it to you. And I was so excited. But yeah, September 27th, 2024, just a year after 10 came out.
Yes.
Which is fun. No one's confirmed to be directing it yet. Although what's interesting is apparently the writers of 10 are not coming back.
Oh, really?
So Josh Stolberg and Pete Goldfinger, who did the last three, so Jigsaw, Spiral, and Saw 10, are not coming back for this one, apparently.
All right.
They said in a tweet that they indicated that they were like more so taking a break from the series, so it's like potential they could come back in the future, but they probably want to do something else, which I don't blame them.
Yeah,
for a bit. But yeah, just exciting.
Just the greatest news of the year. That's a Thomas 2 thumbs up broke off I've ever heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I do think you need to share your experience with that announcement photo.
Yeah. So I just see the photo, right? And I'm like, well, it's interesting that they didn't really like say like 11 or anything with it.
Yeah, because on the announcement photo, it's the date in Roman numerals, so 9/27/2024.
And then like let's play a game or something.
Yeah, the game continues.
The game continues, yeah. And and then I'm like, wait, is there a little blood splatter in the corner? And then I realized that the XI of what is it,
2024
an
is XI in there,
yeah. Then I realized that is red, which did not immediately stand out to me because I am colorblind.
Yeah, so you just thought it was a bunch of Roman numerals.
Yeah, I'm like, it's weird that they didn't like have 11 somewhere to show that Saw 11. Oh, it's there. Yeah. Whoops. So that was kind of I was like, oh man, I felt it was like, yeah,
colorblind strikes again.
Colorblindness strikes again. That. Any opening of like one of those, what is it, Marv, the studio or something?
Oh, yeah. Whatever that studio that has the colorblind test thing is their logo.
Yeah. Their old logo anyway. As a joke that like the studio head was colorblind.
Is that why it was that way?
I believe so. I believe I read that.
That is funny.
Because my friend made fun of me before Kingsman being like, oh, could you even see that? Like, because they thought it was just like a joke. And I'm like, no, I literally didn't.
No idea.
So I think I looked it up afterwards. So yes, colorblindness doesn't affect me very often, but it did with the Saw 11 release. Mm-hmm. So there we go.
Yes.
They need the high contrast colorblind version.
So, I mean, if you want a spoiler as to what our number one anticipated movie of next year is, it's probably what we just talked about.
Oh, yeah. Dune Part 2, take a seat. Here we go.
But Jimmy, next up we have the Death Stranding movie. So the previously rumored movie, which we had talked about, is now confirmed to be in production at A24, actually. Hideo Kojima teaming up with them. I have a bit of a longer quote here from him than I'm going to read. A24 was born into this world about 10 years ago. Their presence is singular within the industry. They are like no other. The films they are delivering to the world are high in quality and very innovative. I have been attracted to their creations, and they have inspired my own work. Their innovative approach to storytelling aligns with that of Kojima Productions has been doing for the last 8 years. Now we are making a Death Stranding movie together. There are a lot of game adaptation films out there, but what we are creating is not just a direct translation of the game. The intention is that our audience will not only be fans of the games, but our film will be for anyone who loves cinema. We are creating a Death Stranding universe that has never been seen before, achievable only through the medium of film. So...
Wow, there you go. I hope you said it with just as much enthusiasm as you just did, Holden.
Yeah, I'm sure he was very excited.
Well, good, because now I don't have to play the game. So Broca. I don't want to play that game. That looks very boring, but I am intrigued at what the story in the world is like. So this is a perfect scenario for me. Hopefully the movie is not boring and uneventful as much of the game seems to be. Good for you if you like it. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool because, I mean, obviously A24 is a great studio, made some great films, but Kojima has been he's been very vocal in his love for movies for many years and like how that's influenced him. And that's like the joke in a lot of his games is the cutscenes are so long. There's so many cutscenes in his games because he basically just like wants to make movies, but he's in the realm of video games. So I think this is cool to give him the opportunity to kind of, be involved in a production and everything. And one of his more recent games, it is interesting because I mean, Death Stranding, I think sold well, but it is still just like an interesting choice for a movie, just overall. But if anyone was to do it, I guess A24 would probably be a good choice. So this is certainly not something that Disney would, want to do.
No,
probably.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll give it a Brokaw.
Cool. Brokaws all around.
Jimmy, Zack Snyder. Well, I didn't
never heard of him.
Yeah, I didn't write down, but his new movie's not looking the greatest. But we'll see. We'll see about that.
We will be the judge.
We'll be the judge of
when
that.
we review it on this podcast. Make sure you're subscribed.
But anyway, he says that his Army of the Dead sequel idea is Planet of the Dead, which he says scales exactly in the way that it sounds, more of a worldwide pandemic kind of thing. He also says the previously announced Army of the Dead animated series has currently stalled, but he's trying to get it back running since the voices are all recorded and everything. So just a little update on the Army of the Dead franchise.
I thought that movie was all right. I think, I'll probably feel the same way about Rebel Moon, but I feel like all of Zack Snyder's movies are a little bit better than people give them credit for. And not necessarily his like devoted fan base, but like just general audiences. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, Planet of the Dead, sure, sounds like fun. Army of the Dead was pretty fun. It wasn't perfect.
Yeah, never saw that Army of
Thieves. But I wasn't bored.
No,
I don't
think so.
I don't think I'm ever like bored during a Zack Snyder movie.
No.
I'm like, this is a questionable decision.
They are. I do always think they are too long though. Like I think Army of the Dead was like close to 3 hours. I'm like, oh my gosh. But
the guy's very ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is cool. It's cool that he's making movies, making the movies he wants to make, and clearly there are people who really like them. But
Would you rather have take the toxicity out of Zack Snyder's fan base? Would you rather have that like super devoted subsect of fans, or like you have devoted fans, but it's more like broad appeal?
I do the broad appeal thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm also thinking of like from Zack Snyder's standpoint. Zack Snyder seems like just a chill, nice guy, and he like in online reactions, he hasn't like obviously crapped on his fans or anything, but he is like not on their level, and like he does not like. It's very kind of funny seeing that like difference there because he's a nice guy, very passionate about his work, but he's not like crapping on critics or anything for not liking his movies.
I think he went through like a very brief phase of that with like right after Batman v Superman, where he's like, Batman killed a guy or like whatever. This is your edgy Batman. Yeah, I feel like he had like one like year of that,
but he's
when
like,
he was going
very
through a
mellow
lot,
now.
and like before and after that. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's not been like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool to have a very devoted group of fans, I'm sure, but like it's. I don't know. I'd probably rather do the broad appeal thing because I just feel like more people would like you. And it maybe, I guess if you take the toxicity out, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm going broad appeal.
So basically the appeal we have with That One Movie podcast.
Yeah.
Just household name.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what did I say? I'll go Bergeron for Planet of the Dead. Woo. Yay.
Yeah, Bergeron. That's good.
All right. One more movie, entertainment, TV show piece of news before that one. Gaming podcast. What's our last story here?
Yeah, just it was like randomly confirmed this week that there's a new Marvel series announced for 2024. Granted, this one is another animated show. It's called Eyes of Wakanda, which I think is. I was trying to find confirmation of this. I think it's like a few years ago they said they were making a Wakanda series. I think this is just that, but I think people had thought initially it was live action. It's called Eyes of Wakanda. And it's the premise is throughout Wakandan history, brave warriors have been tasked to travel the world retrieving dangerous vibranium artifacts. This is their story.
Ooh. Whatever. Probably won't watch it unless it's really, 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 really stinking good. So Bergeron.
Yeah, I'm out of Bergeron. If it's like what if quality, whatever. Maybe I'll watch
What
it.
if? More like whatever.
There's a new season of that coming out and no one cares.
Wow.
It like comes out this week, I think. I have not heard like anyone talk about it.
To be fair, I have not really given it a chance. I've only watched that first.
There were a couple
episode.
like quite good episodes of season 1, but it is pretty mixed. So, yeah. Anyway, Jimmy, moving on to that one gaming podcast.
Yes.
Got a couple of things.
Well,
here.
we actually have a few things because very briefly we could just talk about E3 is officially
that's right.
dead.
Yeah, I forgot to write that down.
They've
E3
been
is
saying it
officially
for like
canceled.
10 years, but now officially E3 is dead.
Yeah, it's just been like canceled for the last few years, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's just basically dead." And then now they're like, "No, we're not. We're just not even going to attempt it anymore."
I think so. Obviously, I didn't get that into like gaming until probably like 2013 ish, maybe even a little later. So I don't have like a ton of E3 memories. I think my favorite E3 off the top of my head was I think it was 2018 when Sony they just did 4 games, and it was The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Spider-Man. And
Is
like
that-
their whole show was that.
Is that the one where they had like the flute performance or whatever? Yeah, I do remember that. That was a good show.
Yeah. And I think they met in like the Last of Us 2 like set. They like recreated it or something with the dance hall or whatever.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I think that was the
good.
first really like gameplay thing that we saw from that.
Could be.
So it was very memorable, and I was like, all 4 of these games are fascinating, look very interesting to me. And I mean, Last of Us 2, obviously the sequel to my favorite game. Spider-Man was the reason I bought a PlayStation 4 to begin with. And then I was like, oh, Death Stranding looks really interesting. I'm like, the least likely one I'll play out of all of these is this Ghost of Tsushima game, and now that's one of my favorite games ever. So
yeah, prior to like late high school, I never really watched E3. But there's like little snippets that I have like experience of like throughout my childhood because my dad's always been into games. And so there are certain things that like will be announced and he'll tell me. Like I remember when they announced the 3DS, because I was big into my DS as a kid, he was like really excited and told me and like, showed me the little press conference thing they had. And I also remember like there was this one DS game called Scribblenauts, which kind of evolved into a little series. But that was like, I think that was GameSpot's like best of E3 and best in show like kind of award. And like he told me about it, and I like bought it the day it came out. I got like so excited about it, and it's a very good game. But yes, but it really didn't get into it until it was already kind of on the decline, I guess, in terms of popularity.
Is that where they announced consoles too, like PS4, Xbox One?
Yeah, for a lot of them.
Series, not Series X, but Xbox One X.
Yeah, because that's
360,
the infamous. There's some like very memorable E3 moments throughout history, like Xbox One doing the whole like
the media
all online thing, and then
bundled with the Kinect,
not being able to share games, and then I think it was Sony that had the how to share games bit.
They just hand the disc over to someone else.
Yeah, it's I don't know. There's been a lot of very good like jabs at each other. There's another really good what was it? I can't remember which console it was. So there was another like Sony press conference thing where or maybe this was at like CEC or CES rather. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. There's been a lot of good jabs, a lot of good moments. You can find them on a lot of meme moments.
Yeah, just take an opportunity to look up best E3 moments.
There's some good. There's some good stuff. Yeah.
Also, take a moment to look up Michael Bay CES. breakdown.
Is there something?
Yes. Yes. Have you not seen this?
Maybe. I don't.
He's like talking for Samsung. This was, oh man, almost 10 years
Was that
ago,
when he
probably.
walks off the
7.
stage or whatever?
Yeah. He's just like, sorry, I can't do this. And he just
Yeah.
walks off.
Okay, I have seen that.
Yeah. He's like, the teleprompter's off. I'm sorry, I can't do this. And he like just storms off. And they're like, Michael Bay, thank you.
Yeah, that's the, so I guess kind of workaround for us going on this tangent. The downside to E3 coming out is you're not going to get really those moments as much anymore. Like, you still got like the Game Awards and Summer Games Fest, I guess, Jeff Keighley's shows that could potentially have funny things happen at them, but for the most part, these game companies just have their own like curated like little announcement shows. They do State of Play, Nintendo Direct kind of thing.
It makes so much more sense from like the corporate aspect.
It does. It makes more
you
sense.
Save so much money not putting on all these things. You have this perfect polished thing that you're sending out that you know, like, okay, we've prepared this. We don't have to do any live stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to fly a bunch of people out to this location. We don't have to set up all these booths. We don't have to do all these things, you know. We can just invite certain press members to come, like have a behind the scenes look at some stuff where they come to see us, you know. But I mean, like, yeah, Nintendo was probably the first ones to do this, right? They kind of started
they dropped out several years before E3 stopped. They this was probably 2013, 2014, I think is when they kind of dropped out. I mean, I think they were still there maybe on the show floor kind of thing, like doing demos, but for the most part, they didn't do like press conferences anymore at E3. So.
Yeah. And then you had like PlayStation not going and Xbox not going. And I believe, you know, I think You're Breathtaking, that was E3, right?
I think so, yeah.
Keanu Reeves for Cyberpunk.
That was the Xbox conference.
Yeah, there was, I think, Square Enix. I remember the Avengers one where people were excited about it, and we looked at the gameplay and we're like, I don't know. It looks kind of bad. No, I'm gonna miss like the live aspect of it. It would have been cool to like attend one like in the heyday of like 2006, you know, or 2005.
2000 was just the heyday for it. There's so many. That's where I think you'll find most of the good moments online.
It's like, you know, just seeing people like when they revealed the God of War reboot, you know, and like people lost their minds, and just seeing those live reactions.
Yeah,
it's a bummer that we won't have that anymore. You know. It's even Apple with their events. They used to be live, and now they just record them
online,
and just preview them like as a live stream. So I don't know. It's an artifact of a pastime. Back in the good old days, we had these live reveals. I do miss them. I do prefer them. Yeah. Watching just like and then they have like the little bumpers, you know, between each PlayStation thing. It's like, and next on PlayStation State of Play, we're going to take a look at PSVR Showcase. You know, it's just not the same as someone coming out and clearly not intended for public speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I miss it. I give the Broca to the legacy of E3.
Yeah, sure.
The ups and the downs.
Lots of good stuff announced.
You will be missed. You were legendary. You were awesome.
Yeah.
What do all 3 E's stand for?
Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Okay. I was going to say something Expo.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Next story, GTA 6 trailer. We didn't really talk about it last week because I realized at the end that we did not have it on the show notes.
Yeah, and because most of the time I do the notes unless Jimmy adds in some stuff. But yeah, I just kind of forgot
the largest entertainment trailer in years.
A big thing last week. But I've never been big into GTA. I did watch the trailer initially, but my reaction was like, okay.
Holden's anti-Rockstar.
Yeah, I am.
He is.
No, Rockstar games are games I like admire, but I'm like it's like the problem you have for most games, but it's like me exclusively with Rockstar, where I'm like, I just do not feel like I have the time to sink into this because they're so big and there's so many other games I would rather play. And that's kind of where I'm at with like Baldur's Gate 3 too. Just games that I can like admire from afar, but just big time sinks that I don't really know if I want to commit to. That being said, I mean, the trailer for this looks good. It's pretty.
That being said, I 100% did Lego Star Wars.
I did do that. Yeah. I mean, that's.
And how long did that take you?
So long. Too long. I don't. God. Waste of time. I mean, I'm not trying to defend that. That was a mistake on my part. But this trailer, I mean, it looks good. It's mostly
you could have
just
played
cinematics.
Red Dead Redemption 2 with the amount of time you put into Lego Star Wars.
I was more interested in starting Lego Star Wars than I was Red Dead.
That's incredible to me.
And then I kind of got looped into it. I was like, all right, after the 40-hour mark, I stopped having fun, but it was a sunk cost fallacy. So anyway.
I am not as much of a trophy hunter as Holden is. What do you have, like 25 platinum trophies
Something
now?
like that. I can't remember.
I have 10, and that seems like too many. I'm like, how did this happen? How did I get 10? I remember seeing these once and being like, I'm never getting one of those.
I only get platinum trophies on games that are like doable, really.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know. Most of the times, if it's like replay on a harder difficulty, I don't, unless it's Final Fantasy. Anyway, the trailer itself, it looks good. It's mostly just cinematics, right? It looks mostly just like cinematics. So it's
it's not gameplay.
No. So, I mean, we don't really know how that all looks. I assume most of it is in engine. So it looks good from that regard. It's set in Vice City, which is a previous location from the games, which is basically Miami, I guess.
Yep, Miami.
So there's like alligators. There's a bunch of like Florida man kind of like weirdos, like the kind of stereotype in the trailer. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think, I mean, from a technical standpoint, it's pretty incredible. Like, especially the hair. The hair in the trailer is better than like any video game hair ever.
Okay.
I would highly recommend watching the Digital Foundry kind of breakdown of this stuff, which is also very funny because they're like talking about like, oh, look at this. And they're like making fun of themselves because they're looking at like people twerking and like a guy running naked. And they're like analyzing it objectively for graphical purposes. But then they talk about like, what does our job come to? So it's a very funny conversation, but also very insightful. They kind of alluded to the fact that this will almost certainly be a 30 frames per second game. On PS5 and Xbox Series X. It is coming in 2025, so we may have a pro variant of the PS5. But even then, will it just be an upscaled kind of resolution thing? I think it looks very interesting. It makes me want to go back and actually finish GTA 5 because I did enjoy it when I played it. I just quit playing it because I was living at my parents' house at the time. And I was very uncomfortable with them seeing me playing this raunchy game because they are not raunchy individuals. So I was like, maybe this is not the
best.
You wouldn't watch every movie with your parents, so that sort of vibe.
Sure.
And they're always one to be like, oh, what are you doing? What's going on in your game? Oh, what's that?
I'm just shooting people.
Oh, I'm just shooting people on my way to this strip
with my car.
Get a lap dance. So maybe I'll go back and replay that. Now there's a PS5 edition, which was like a free PS5 thing if you owned it, but maybe it isn't anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So maybe I'd miss that boat on upgrading. So we'll see.
I have it on 360. What I have played of GTA 5 is fun,
but Holden's just anti. He's like, I will not tap the X button repeatedly to run.
That is like the worst. I
think they patched that.
Maybe in the newer versions.
Yeah, I think they did.
Okay.
In Red Dead and whatever.
That was so hard for me to get over. I'm like, I playing it on my 360, pressing A or whatever. Like, it's so annoying. Why is that? That is a dumb mechanic.
They want you to feel fatigued, like your character.
Oh my gosh, I could go on like a whole thing about my what little I've played of Rockstar. It annoys me when it's like realism instead of like quality of life gameplay. Like, God,
like how in Red Dead when you loot everybody, you like actually like go down, and bend over,
like,
and, like
I get it. You've got a good looking game. You want it to look realistic. That's fine, but make the game fun. In that regard,
I think it is fun.
Yeah, most of it probably is. It's just the little things that bother me.
The Rockstar games are very slowly, deliberately paced. They're slow burns, but they're very good slow burns. Like, it's like a lot of the missions are, either in your, get in your car in GTA and start driving, or get on your horse and start riding somewhere with somebody in Red Dead. But it is like very entertaining along the way, and you have these discussions, or there are certain things that happen through, from point A to point B that are feel pretty organic to the world and very immersive.
Sure.
And they are definitely things that you could get just completely lost in. So I think that's cool, Holden. So I'm going to give GTA 6 trailer a broadcast because I will inevitably probably get this game because I'm assuming it's very good.
Yeah, it's probably going to be very good. Probably going to be, the biggest game in the world or something when it comes out. So,
certainly.
I'll give it a broadcast because it looks good. I'll give it for you.
GTA 5 is the most successful entertainment thing ever, right?
Yeah,
and it's
GTA
not even
Online,
close.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Remarkable.
Insane.
Last story of the week, Holden.
Yeah, The Last of Us multiplayer game developed at Naughty Dog, or previously in development at Naughty Dog, is no longer being made.
Yeah.
Canceled officially. Yeah, which we'd kind of talked about before, that it was like rumored it was canceled or it being scaled back or whatever. But this is official now, that they canceled it because they didn't want to become solely the Last of Us multiplayer game studio.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like in their statement, they said that they figured out what the scale they were going for and everything. It was going to require like all of their like workers and everything for quite a long time to like maintain it and everything. So that was going to be like the only thing they were going to be able to work on. And they didn't want to do that because they're very focused on single player for the most part.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make some of those. And they said they have I think 2 games currently in the works. So
interesting.
Different stages of development.
Well, one of them is certainly The Last of Us Part 3.
That's what I would think. The positive to come out of this is, surely a lot of what they use for this, they can just repurpose.
I would think so, right? Like a lot of animations, a lot of like models, like environmental things. You would think they would, if they're developing pretty exclusively for the PS5, I would assume at this point they're going to be able to use that technology and other things.
If we eventually get Last of Us 3 and there's a part of the game that feels like a multiplayer map, they could have just slotted that in there somewhere or something, like if it's a big area or something. But yeah,
even folded into their not factions, which was the multiplayer of the original game, but the no return, or what is it?
Yeah, the roguelike.
The roguelike thing. Maybe they even folded some of that in there.
Yeah, which would make sense to me. Fold some of that in.
Just fold it in.
Just fold it in.
Fold it in.
But yeah, I don't know. I think this is for me a positive because I was probably going to play the multiplayer game because it's Naughty Dog, but I'm also not big into multiplayer. So the fact that they're going to focus more on the single player stuff is more interesting to me.
Yeah. I wish they would have just known this from the start. I feel bad for all the people who really like Last of Us Factions. Apparently it's very good. I never did play it. But like you, I really don't care about multiplayer games. If you ask me, would you rather have a Naughty Dog make a single player or multiplayer? It is not even close.
Yeah.
I really don't play any, and now I don't even have PS Plus. So there we go.
Yeah. You'd have to get that again. Yeah, I think it's cool that Naughty Dog is able to just cancel that. Like it was probably something that like Sony suggested or told them to make, and then they're like, "No, let's actually not do that."
Yeah, or maybe there was a thing they wanted to make, but then
maybe
said, "Okay, how are we going to make money?" Sort of thing.
Yeah, make it a live service game.
Yeah, it's so yeah. I feel bad for people spent a lot of time working on it.
Yeah.
And obviously probably putting a lot of care into it. But, it would be sad to just see how that work basically disappear into thin air. So that's a bummer part of it. But overall, I think this is a good decision. So I guess Brokaw for this game that's not coming out.
Yeah.
Because they're sticking with their single player guns.
Yeah. Which is good.
And hopefully we don't have to deal with any of these shenanigans for any other studio that Sony has.
No.
All right. There we go. That is the news from this week, Holden. So let's dive into our review of Wonka. Let's start off spoiler free.
Are we doing TOMPeyes first?
Oh, sorry, TOMPeyes. Yes.
She missed that.
Whoa. Pretty uneventful TOMPeyes though.
Yeah, not much really happened. We ordered ours to stay, and they gave us to-go boxes.
Yep.
That's probably the most interesting thing.
I asked for all dark. I got all thighs, which is phenomenal. My favorite piece. Awesome. Got, I think 3 of them were spicy of 4. I think I had 1 classic one. I asked for classic, but I like spicy too. So
yeah.
I was assuming I was going to have to wait for a long time, and I didn't. So that was nice. So overall, good biscuit, subpar. Kind of too crunchy this week.
Sure.
Crunchy, a little not as buttery and fluffy.
Yeah, that was probably the worst part of the meal was the biscuit. It was mid, but
good service.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than getting the to go. Yeah, for quick. Everything worked. Yeah. So kind of uneventful. I mean, come on, Popeyes.
The ice machine didn't have like the back thing.
Yeah,
on it.
you had to like manually push the ice thing while your cup was there.
I mean, we're picking at it now. It was a fine visit.
I know for where your expectations are set for Popeyes, getting a to-go order instead of your dine-in, getting the opposite of classic or spicy that you ordered.
Yeah.
And a mid biscuit is,
not bad.
Kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
So now we can dive into our review of Wonka, and we will start off spoiler-free. So if you haven't seen it, stick around, listen to our thoughts, decide if this is a movie that you should go out and see or not, and then we'll dive into spoilers, and we'll warn you before we do so, because we know you don't want to have the Wonka spoiled for you.
Yeah.
All right. Wonka non-spoiler review starting right after this.
All right, Jimmy, the sweatshirt has come off.
Yeah, there's a costume change for Holden.
Usually I take off my sweatshirt before we start, and I didn't think of it this time. And under these lights, it was very warm. So
I realized and cozy, and Holden just starts.
I'm like sweating.
He's in a sauna
bullets.
over here.
Yeah.
Wonka synopsis, Holden. Mm-hmm. Armed with nothing but a hatful of dreams, young chocolatier Willy Wonka manages to change the world, one delectable bite at a time.
Wow.
There we go. Inspiring.
Yeah, so obviously this is a prequel film based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, following the character Willy Wonka, starring Timothée Chalamet. It's directed by Paul King of the Paddington films.
Mm-hmm.
This movie I thought was a fun time.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
I did too. I thought it was very fun. I did doze off a couple times.
Classic Jimmy.
Not because the movie was bad, just because I was very tired.
Yeah.
And I had just had some fried chicken and I worked out earlier, and it was that time of the day.
There's no time where we can see a movie and Jimmy will certainly not fall asleep.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we saw it in the afternoon today. This time.
See, the afternoon's a little dangerous. Maybe right before a meal.
We'll put The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah, that's true. I also fell asleep during that. But maybe that on a weekend, because that was a weekday.
Yeah, that was after a day of work. Yeah.
So maybe 5 o'clock on a weekend is safe.
Very specific time might be ideal for that.
Or the morning, perhaps. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe just not any time. You just have to be Godzilla -1, essentially, and then I will stay awake the whole time. But no, this was a lot of fun. It was very whimsical and just delightful.
Very delightful, delectable time.
Yeah, I get it. That was in the synopsis.
It was, yeah. I saw it right there.
It was very sweet.
Very sweet. Yeah.
Bite-sized, no. I think, if anything, it was maybe a little too long.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was just under 2 hours. Probably could have been an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
But overall, though, I mean, it is very much a Paul King movie in line with the Paddington films. Mm-hmm. It is very whimsical, has a lot of CG, which in both Paddington and this don't always look the best, but it kind of adds to the style of it. I feel like it works better in Paddington. I feel like in that I don't really have any problems with it looking a little wonky at times. Wonka-y. In this, it's kind of more iffy at points, especially with the Oompa Loompa character. But for the most part,
thought
it works.
it mainly just matches the vibe.
Yeah,
like it
does.
obviously doesn't look amazing, but it matches the vibe.
Yeah, it doesn't look the most realistic, but this movie is very it's kind of like a live action cartoon at times in some regards. So it kind of matches that. Timothée Chalamet, I thought was very good.
I thought he was excellent. Yeah, I thought he nailed it.
Yeah, I think the worst parts of his performance are in the trailer, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I think the trailer, I remember when we talked about it, I was more iffy on it because while I was like, he's clearly bringing a lot of energy to it, there was just like something about the delivery of some of his lines in the trailer. I was like, I don't know if I buy him as this character, but it was a lot better in context of the movie and everything. He does have a lot of energy. It's a lot more energetic than most of his performances, where he is a lot more sullen or kept to himself. But he matches the vibe of the character quite well. I like a lot of his gimmicks, like how he can't read.
Yeah,
I think that's fun. And he's like just lists off all these insane things that go into all of his chocolates and everything. That's all very fun. But the other performances are very good too, I think.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah, as like the chief of police.
Chief of police who's just corrupt and can be bought out for chocolate, essentially.
Yeah.
And his kind of reactions to things and his delivery of lines, I think, does a lot for the comedic relief in the movie.
Yeah, he's great. Calla Lane, who plays a Noodle, who's like this orphan girl character. I thought she was good. This is like the first movie she's ever been in, so good for her.
Yeah.
The like chocolate cartel, like the villains of the movie. Apparently, these are like characters in the actual book.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was just. I mean, I think it was clearly made to be more silly in this, but apparently they're like some minor characters in the actual book, and I don't know if they're in either of the movie adaptations of the book. But I was just surprised to see. It was like, oh yeah, it was right here. Like when I was looking at the cast list, like the main one, Arthur Slugworth, like has a link to like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory character list or something. It's very weird. I don't know. But I thought they were all fun. It was fun how comically evil they were. Like they all kind of have their own gimmick as well. I don't know. Performance is all good.
Yeah, I mean, little disclaimer here. I have never seen Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka movie. Mm-hmm. I have seen most of the Johnny Depp one, and I don't like that. I don't like that movie. I just don't like it. I don't even like thinking about it.
It is kind of a gross movie to think about. I liked it a lot as a kid because I was probably 6 or 7 when that came out. I have to say, I saw it in theaters. I remember liking it, but it is. Yeah, I feel like if I went back to it, I would not like it. And I saw Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Gene Wilder one, a couple years ago. I remember liking it. I feel like it is a movie that if you're a kid watching it, it would like mean a lot more to you though. Like it's very much like a nostalgic movie in that regard. But as an adult seeing it, I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's not like my favorite thing.
So yeah, no, I enjoyed this even though I'm not a Willy Wonka fan and I have no nostalgia with the character. If anything, I have like anti-nostalgia. Like I did not enjoy Willy Wonka things growing up. So I would be
the candy brand.
That I've never had them, right?
Any candy? Yeah, well, like no, Laffy Taffy, Nerds.
Oh wait, yeah, no, I've had Laffy Taffy, Nerds.
I think that's all like Wonka branding.
Okay, I've had that.
Yeah,
there was a fun computer game that I would play in our computer class when I finished my typing stuff, where you'd like run around this factory and you had to do things and survive.
Survive.
I think
in the chocolate.
It was like I think it was like a platformer thing.
That is funny. Cool.
Well, I mean, people just die in that movie, don't they?
They do, yeah. It's pretty. It can be pretty gruesome. That one really. Does anyone die in this? Oh, I guess we can't talk about it in spoilers. It's in
non-spoilers.
Non-spoilers, but the other thing that I feel like a lot of people won't know going into this movie is that it's a musical.
Yeah, it is a musical. I think the weakest part of the movie to me is like a lot of the songs. I think
I actually like the songs quite a bit.
I think they're
personally
completely average, like the very generic musical sounding songs, other than like the actual songs they took from the Gene Wilder movie.
Yeah, the Oompa Loompa song and the Pure Imagination ones. Yeah, no, I personally I liked the music. It isn't like super remarkable, but there are a couple of the songs that I actually have like remembered since and have listened to a couple times since watching it yesterday. I think the musical performances in general, like Timothée Chalamet's singing, is very good. I think like the dancing and like everything that goes into those sequences is very fun. There's a lot of physical comedy and good choreography that goes into them. I liked the songs personally,
Yeah.
but
I don't know. This was one of those movies where it like the singing is so artificial sounding that it took me out of the movie more. It didn't like obviously they do this in a lot of movies where it's like, okay, they did not actually take the audio from the set.
80 yard.
Yeah, it's 80 yard, but it seemed like extra 80 yard, like double ADR effect where it just seemed like
I did notice that too.
like the voices were heavily like auto-tuned and manipulated to sound better and that part of it didn't work for me very much. And I think like my biggest critique of this movie would be that it feels like maybe it would have been better as like a stage play than a movie. I think that this would have been more interesting to watch as a play than a movie.
I mean, I think it would be cool
like as sets and all that.
It would certainly be very cool. I'm not
because I think it literally like a lot of it is filmed as if it was like a play.
Yeah, I think that's Paul King's style. I feel like you could say that about Paddington as well to an extent, where it does feel it like the camera's pulled back quite a bit. There's like a lot of things going on in the background, a lot of very play like things where there's extras like you know going to the marketplace in the background. There's like a lot of very like stage acting, I guess, kind of things happening. I don't know. I think it justifies being a movie quite well. Personally, it would be cool as a stage play, but I don't know. I think especially with the fact that this movie uses quite a bit of CG. Like I think that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why it could be a stage play because it's like a lot of the CG stuff is just environmental. Like is there anything like that's in this movie that they literally could not do? I'm like maybe. Oompa Loompa. Like you wouldn't be able to have a Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah.
Which I would also say like Hugh Grant is not in this movie that much. So if you're like, oh, I can't wait to see a bunch of Hugh Grant Oompa Loompa stuff.
I also think the Oompa Loompa stuff is the weakest part in general.
I'm like, he didn't need to be in it.
No, it feels very much like, oh, it's a Willy Wonka movie, so we need an Oompa Loompa in here.
Yeah, I was like,
tacked on.
He's so heavily featured in a lot of the trailers, and I don't think it was that funny.
No,
I
it
just
was like the least funny stuff in the movie in general.
Yeah. It didn't work for me, which is odd.
Yeah. And I didn't and it was very uncanny looking too. Like I said kind of earlier, that's probably like the weakest effects to me was, I mean, I don't know how else you'd make Hugh Grant, I guess, look like an Oompa Loompa, but it is just weird.
Yeah, it was strange. But no, overall, very fun time. There were a couple of really funny moments, I thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of the humor lands in this movie, actually. I think it's pretty good, like, all ages humor for the most part. Like, I feel like this is a very solid family movie. Yeah, I don't know. I had a good time with it, I think, overall. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. No.
Cinematography was good.
Yeah.
Nicely lit. Set designs, the stuff that was real looked good.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about spoilers then, Holden.
Right,
before we give our
rating.
then we'll give our rating and stuff. So,
all right.
Yeah.
What are you going to recommend it?
Am I going to recommend it? Do you like Willy Wonka? If you do, I don't know. That's where I'm like, I don't know if people who like Willy Wonka, are they liking this movie?
I feel like they would. Okay. I mean, unless your opinion is the original 70s movie is like the only thing that should exist of this. I feel like most people are. This isn't like a franchise that is like super like, I don't know, like you have to adhere to this certain thing or whatever. Like I don't know if there's like a strong fan base.
Not
to
my
it.
Wonka.
Yeah, I I feel like it's something pretty people are like always aware of Willy Wonka and whatnot, but I feel like most people would be open to it. And from what I gather, like I think the movie's doing pretty well box office wise. It's already made its budget back and everything, and it's gotten pretty positive reviews from critics and just general audiences.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay. If you hear that, okay, there's a whimsical kids movie out there that's pretty nice, and you're like, that sounds like a decent time right now, go see it. If you're like, I really just don't want to, then don't.
yeah.
But yeah, that's what it is. I think it's better than the trailer indicates.
Yeah, I'd agree. I guess the other thing I'll add here is before I give my rating, I'll kind of going along with the Hugh Grant thing. One thing that the Paddington movies have done really well is it has like these kind of bigger actors in these like just side roles that are really well fleshed out and very entertaining. And you got that here with like Olivia Colman and stuff. And I think that like she's great. There's a couple of them that I'm like, I don't know, like why they're here. Like you got the Oompa Loompa. Like Rowan Atkinson is the priest.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
He didn't do anything.
Yeah, he didn't do, anything like Mr. Bean or anything you'd expect Rowan Atkinson to do here. So I felt like that kind of aspect was weaker than the Paddington films. But overall, it's a nice movie, fun time. I liked it. 7 out of 10, I think.
There you go. All right, let's talk about spoilers for Wonka. So if you have not seen Wonka and you don't want to get it spoiled, check out the time codes down in the description so you can jump to our final segment of the show, What Are You Doing? Otherwise, spoilers are coming at you right after this.
All right, spoilers for Wonka, Jimmy. Should we start?
Come with me and you'll be in a land of
It's a
lot
world of pure. Oh, I see.
In a world of pure imagination. Sorry.
Fair enough.
I liked all the little chocolates that he made and the effects.
Yeah, they were very creative. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, I like him explaining all the things that go into it, and like some of the things real, some of them not.
Liquid sunshine, bottled up thunderstorm, stuff like that.
Those like hover bugs, whatever.
Tears
that hatch and you
tears of Russian clowns.
Yeah, that was a funny one. Yeah, I thought all the chocolates were very creative and everything, and some of them had cool powers, some of them just tasted really good, some of them just tasted like emotions and stuff. It never really adhered to any rules or anything or took itself too seriously, but I thought that was a fun aspect.
I think the funniest sequence of the movie is when they're infiltrating the zoo. And they give the guy the great like full night out or something.
Yeah,
is the name of the
called something
candy.
like that. Yeah,
and it's just like all the stages of a guy being intoxicated, essentially.
in the span of like a minute or so. It was very funny, and it's all like a silhouette too. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, that was funny. That was Jimmy laughing the hardest.
Yeah,
probably.
it was. I also thought the other funny line was, this is our priority. What about all the unsolved murders? No, this takes precedence or whatever.
That was another really good part. Yeah. Some solid jokes in this. Yeah. In general, and just a solid humorous tone. But other than other things, zoo infiltration was good. I liked the whole stuff with the giraffe. I liked Noodle's backstory. And I mean, I was like, okay, she has this ring. Clearly this is connected to something, right? This has to mean something. I didn't expect it to be that she's just like the abandoned like niece, I guess, of this random of one of the chocolate guys who is just the most like just does not care about her at any point. Just most throwaway. There's not any attempt of any connection there. I liked how the House of Books thing came in.
Yeah, that was
to
nice
play at the end
Yeah.
with the library. That was cool. So yeah, her whole deal, that was fun. Milking a giraffe, interesting.
Yeah. I think a lot of it was pretty just delightful. The whole zoo scene, and then they go and they fly around with the balloons, and that's nice. And the flamingos fly after them, all very sweet and whatnot. I think I liked the Scrub song.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite one.
It reminded me of like a Les Mis song.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
see that.
Can't remember the name of it, but that's what it reminded me of. I like how they said scrub and different connotations to mean different things.
Yeah, that was good. That felt like a lot more like there was a lot more like on set kind of stuff happening there. It didn't feel as CGI heavy as a lot of the rest of the movie. There's a lot of really cool like contraption, like coordination thing happening with the choreography there. So I liked that a lot.
But yeah, no, I just enjoyed. I think my favorite like extended part of the movie is like the montage when they're like illegally selling the chocolate and disappearing.
That was good. Yeah, using the sewers.
Yeah, kind of the whole plan, and
starts with the guy who like proposes to the girl. And
yeah,
that was funny too. It's just has no confidence.
Yeah, it's all great. And you even have the one zoo security guard calling the one lady
guard in the vault.
Yeah. Who's like the martial artist or something that's there to protect it.
Yeah, just like this martial artist who they say hasn't seen the sun in like this a long time or whatever.
Another funny bit was like all the priests or whatever lined up. Like 500 chocoholic priests or something.
Yeah, and the background music is just them responding to Rowan Atkinson like, okay,
sounds good. It reminded me of what is it? The Hot Fuzz with the greater good.
Yeah, I can see that.
Unison. But that was all pretty funny, and that whole thing. But I thought the whole chocolate cartel thing was a pretty good bit.
Mm-hmm. It was very silly, and once again, like most of the movie didn't take itself very seriously. It was like, oh, they are a threat, but like the whole concept of a chocolate cartel is really stupid. And they have this whole underground vault just filled with chocolate.
They record all their evil deeds.
Yeah, in this ledger. And they what they say, they like combine, they like water down their chocolate.
Yeah.
And the vault is just all the leftover chocolate that they preserve for themselves and bribing and it's very
corruption. Funny. And then Keegan-Michael Key just slowly getting heavier and heavier, and I thought the song where they convince him to take the deal is pretty good too.
Yeah, the boxes just get progressively bigger, like more and more boxes, and then the final one is just this huge box that sits on top of his car.
That's right. That was good.
The chocolates all looked really good. I got really hungry for sweets while watching this.
I did too.
I was like, man, I can eat some chocolate right now.
I had a couple Kit Kats when I got home. I'll tell you that.
Oof.
Now I'm getting hungry for chocolate again. I need another Kit Kat.
I know. I'm thinking about these. I'm like, oh, that lightning bolt one looked kind of good. Yum.
Chocolate. I thought that was all pretty funny. Obviously, Willie doesn't read the fine print because he can't read.
Yeah, which I thought that was I liked that was the reason why, because otherwise I was like, well, why wouldn't he read this? That's kind of stupid. But he pretends to, and then is like, yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, okay.
You got I forget his name, the male guy who's with Olivia Colman's character.
Yeah, I can't remember the character's name. I also I thought I recognized the actor, but I forgot to look up afterwards who it was. Bleacher. Tom Davis is the actor's name.
What else is he in?
Paddington 2 is probably where I recognize him.
Okay.
I guess. Television, anything? No, not really.
Okay. There you go. He was all right. They're dynamic. They kept going back to them. I didn't think it was that funny. Mm-hmm. Especially when they're like, oh, he's an aristocrat.
I did like him wearing the overalls and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
The shorts.
Yeah.
Showing off some thighs.
Yeah. They were fine. I mean, I thought they were like enjoyable characters, but they probably didn't need to be in the movie as much as they were.
Look, the whole connection with his mom, which is, what's her name? Sally Hawkins?
Mm-hmm.
Is that her name? Yeah, she's not in it that much, but that's nice. He wants to make chocolate, and then she's going to be there with him. when he reveals it. I think honestly, a lot of my favorite parts of the movie is when he is like talking about his chocolate and letting people try it and
how passionate he is about it.
And all the funny things he says. And like we said earlier, Timothée Chalamet, I think his delivery is fantastic with a lot of the things. It is very whimsical and there's a poetry to it that I think he just nails the cadence of everything and the rhythm. So I think, well done for him because we haven't really seen him take on a role like this.
Yeah, it was very different, but cool that he's able to do that. The stuff with his mom, I almost kind of wish there was more to it in the movie.
I thought it was going to be a little deeper, but the heart of the movie was less of that and more so with just the band of people that he was with.
Yeah, the cast of characters in the wash place, which you said the one guy's from Downton Abbey.
Yeah, I believe so. If I'm thinking of the right guy, and I know him. What's his name? Where are we at? I'm zoomed in here.
Here, I can just look it up here. The guy isn't Abacus Crunch, right? Because he's an accountant, so that would make sense. That was his name. Jim Carter is the actor.
Yeah, I believe he's in Downton Abbey.
Yeah, as Mr. Carson.
Yeah, and I know him from my random Pompeii thing that I show in my class every year. But he's good too. I don't know if all those characters. I feel like you didn't need as many characters as they did, like because I don't think they all had enough play. Like I almost think there was a lot left on the cutting room floor a little bit with some of them.
The comedian guy.
A little bit more. Yeah, I feel like the comedian guy really didn't do that much.
He didn't really do anything.
So
the quiet girl or whatever.
Yeah, I felt like those two really didn't.
They had like a gimmick, and that's why they were there. But like, they didn't really contribute a ton.
Yeah. So
the other two were fine though.
Yeah.
The White Lotus lady.
Yeah, Belinda from the White Lotus.
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice time. I would double feature it with the Human Centipede episode of South Park for people who don't read the terms and the conditions. There you go. There's my double feature recommendation. Otherwise, I think I've said pretty much everything I have to say about this movie. It was nice.
Yeah, I guess we didn't really bring up the whole sequence at his store.
Where the poisoned.
Yeah, the poisoned
chocolate.
with the Yeti something or whatever that makes him grow hair. Which that whole sequence, I thought the whole place looked like really fun. It was clearly like an early version of his factory and everything. Had candy everywhere, candy everything. But yeah, and then I thought the way everyone turned on him so quickly, that was like almost really funny. And then they just start destroying everything. Yeah. But that whole sequence I thought in general was pretty good. But yeah, I guess there's probably not a whole lot more to talk about. We can call it quits.
There we go. I really like Keegan-Michael Key too, his character.
Yeah, he is probably one of the best side characters, if not the best side character. Just a bunch of people clearly having a fun time in this movie. Yeah, everyone seemed to really enjoy what they were doing, which I think is that way with the Paddington movies too. So I wouldn't be surprised if Paul King is just a fun guy to work with.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for our spoiler discussion of Wonka. That brings us to our final segment of the show, which of course, Holden, is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right. This week, Jimmy, I finished up on Venture Brothers, caught up on all that. So I watched the new movie that just came out earlier this year, the finale of the series. And it was pretty good. I think as a finale, it was essentially greenlit to satiate angry fans of the series because it got like canceled after season 7, I think it was. And so Adult Swim greenlit it to wrap up as a finale and everything. So there's a lot in it. There's a lot of, wrapping up the storylines, the loose threads, and, different things they wanted to do with different characters. So there is maybe too much going on, but as a finale, I feel like it's, like with what we could have gotten, I feel like it's about as good as we could have gotten. Granted, considering we only got the one movie. So yeah, it's very good. Would recommend it. Venture Brothers overall. It's probably a series that in general gets better as it goes. So underrated Adult Swim animated series. But since then, since I finished that at the beginning of the week, I've been catching up on Monarch and Fargo. I am caught up. Actually, I think a new episode has come out of Monarch that I haven't seen yet. But I through episode 5 of that, and then I'm catching up on Fargo. Monarch, it's solid. I feel like the last 2 episodes have been very meandering. I feel like if you probably would not like the series so far.
Okay. Good call.
I think there's some really interesting ideas in it. Kurt Russell is very good in kind of the modern day stuff. And they're setting up a lot of cool things. I feel like they maybe just did not need 10 episodes. They probably could have condensed this down. So but Fargo so far is really good. I have like no idea where this is going. It's kind of a breath of fresh air after season 4 kind of being not quite as good as the other 3. But John Hamm is like one of the main characters. He's so good. It's like a different type of role than anything I've seen him in, and everyone else in it is quite good. So watch Fargo if you haven't yet. Jimmy needs to watch Fargo.
I have not watched it.
I think you would really like Fargo.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any reason you wouldn't. I'm pulling out my phone real quick because I realized I forgot to write down what else I watched. So I'm just checking that letterboxed. I don't think there was a ton else. I did watch the new Chicken Run movie that came out this week. It was good. It was a solid time. It's just a solid Aardman Animations, very well animated claymation. Not as good as the original, but had a lot of cool ideas in it and everything. Kind of retreaded some of the same stuff from the first movie, so it's not the most wholly original thing, but it's a good time if you like the first Chicken Run. Recommend it. But beyond that, I have just been playing Final Fantasy VII a lot, and I am close to the end of it. It is a very long game, but it is very, very good. Story is incredible. It's a very famous video game story, and even after having played the remake, which is the first part of the game, and being vaguely aware of like some of the things that happen in it, there's like a bunch of stuff I have not expected in it so far, and I think it is a very, very interesting story. I'm interested to see how it ends, and I'm very interested to see how the remake kind of changes things. So there's like a very famous twist in it, but there's like, and so I knew that was coming, but there's like been other twists that I've like kind of very much surprised me. So yeah, very good game. So what about you, Jimmy? What about you?
Well, first off, Emily and I finished The Killing Vote, our Korean drama.
Did it end very well?
I thought the ending was pretty good. A lot like the online reaction was not good.
Really?
A lot of people like did not like the ending. I don't know. I would definitely say like the
IMDb score on that one.
I think it's not like bad. It's like 7 something last time. It was like 7.7.
There's so many like
so it's like
nines.
Yeah, it's like high 8, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, and the last 2 are like couples like 7.5 or something. So if you go to the episode
overall.
the episode guide here, and then you'll see that.
Yeah, so you got like 8, high 8s, then goes up to 9s, and then 8, 7.7.
Yeah, so 7.7. So it's like not like horrible, but like it definitely
Game of Thrones finale.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't fall off a cliff or anything. It's just the last couple aren't as like they didn't quite land it, but overall, I think the show was very much worth watching.
Okay.
I would still recommend it to people who are, if you watch the trailer and you're interested, especially just because like the characters are really good. Like the main 2 characters of Kim Woo-chan, this police, he's a superintendent is his official title. But he's like basically a detective guy. He's a very interesting character. And then this guy called the Professor, who is this guy who goes to jail for basically revenge, killing this person who killed his daughter. And it's this whole kind of story about this and a critique of the Korean justice system and kind of like the death penalty and in of itself. And there's a lot of very exciting, intense moments throughout the show. So I would recommend it. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue to it. I would say once like the mystery part is revealed, it's not as compelling, is what I would say. But there's still a lot that happens that is very interesting, and I would recommend that you watch it, Holden. Otherwise, Emily has kind of randomly turned on. She randomly turned on Soul. So I saw most of that, and I appreciated it. I think I definitely liked it more this time than the first time I watched it.
Okay.
I still think it is kind of like the structure of it's weird, where it's like a bunch of things happen, and then all of a sudden the movie's over. It is a movie
I don't
that
really even remember how it ends or anything. So
I feel like it's a movie that ends very abruptly.
okay.
And I don't know. There was a lot that I'd forgotten about. Like I was like, I forgot that he's a cat.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I totally forgot. I'm like, this is a substantial part of the movie that I didn't remember, and all that other things. Yeah. It's funny. It is a very creative movie. It's got some good moments. Then we're having a lot of fun. We rewatched the entire The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from 2006, I think it is. And I think that movie's pretty good, actually. Like it's like for what it is, it's pretty good.
I remember I loved it in theaters.
Oh yeah.
It was a big deal. And then I never saw either of the sequels.
So we just started Prince Caspian, so we'll see how that holds up. But The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is Tilda Swinton is so good as the White Witch. Like,
I remember her being really good.
Her costuming, her performance is exceptional. I think for 2006, the effects hold up pretty well, especially like the final battle looks excellent. The climax of the movie and the music still hits, and it's a very entertaining movie. James McAvoy as Mr. Tumnus is excellent.
Yeah, I always forget he's that.
He still just does not, like, it's still almost unrecognizable that he's James McAvoy. I don't remember how that movie is reviewed, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
I think it's pretty well reviewed.
But like we talked about Greta Gerwig, it's got a 75 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 75 on Metacritic. That's weird that they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
So 75 on Metacritic, that's pretty good, actually. The
director of Shrek and Shrek 2 directed it.
But we've talked about how Greta Gerwig wants to make an adaptation for Netflix, and I'm just like, why? This movie's like, 2005. This movie really, I don't see them like making a better version. Like I'm like, there's not really much wrong with this, and as a kid, I remember thinking the movie was actually better than the book.
Well, so I've only read, and granted, I read them when I was a kid, but like the books are not very long, so it's not like there's a ton they cut out to like make the movie work. I feel like they did a pretty straight adaptation from what I remember. Yeah. I could be forgetting things. And then
anything they did add, I liked. Like I was like more battle, more epic stuff. And I remember feeling similarly about Prince Caspian, the second one. I don't think I ever finished Voyage of the Dawn Treader, but I did see the movie once in theaters and thought it was pretty good too. But it did stall out after that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't feel like we need one because this movie's solid. Yeah. And I think the kids are in it are actually pretty good.
Yeah, I remember them being really good.
So yeah, I'm excited to see how Prince Caspian holds up. I don't wonder how that one's reviewed. But yeah, I would say if you haven't checked out The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and you're like, oh, it's probably just nostalgia, I would say that you could actually rewatch it, and it's good. Also, Peter Dinklage is in Prince Caspian. I was like, what?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so we just saw him very briefly at the beginning. We just started it. But yeah, no, it's good. I recommend. Go back and rewatch it. Especially the climax, I think is like, you can tell that, oh yeah, this is hot off of Lord of the Rings, like clearly inspired and in a good way.
Everyone wanted their fantasy series.
Yeah, but like it was in that era of filmmaking where you couldn't just do CGI to get away with everything. So you actually had to try, you know, like you actually had to be like, okay, we have to be very intentional about what we do and how we have to lay everything out because we can't fix it later. We have to do it. So yeah, I think very well paced movie too. And then lastly, Follow the House of Usher. I am on the final episode. I have about 50 minutes left, so I'll be done with that by the time we talk next week.
Nice. Pretty good. You like it?
Oh yeah, I'm very much enjoying it. I very entertaining. When I first heard, like the first trailer, I was really not that. I was like, I don't really think I need to see this.
Mm-hmm.
And even like the synopsis of like, okay, it's like Succession, but like someone kind of dies every episode,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I just don't really. And then people said it was good, so I was like, I'll give it a try, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. The performances are excellent, very entertaining. I think the dialogue's pretty good, and just really fun to watch.
Everyone really likes the Lemons monologue, where it's talking about
you create a scarcity of lemons.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Convince people lemons are the most valuable resource in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Very coincidentally, what was I watching? There was the line of whoever has the gold makes the rules, the golden rule. That line was in two different things that I watched, and one of them was the House of Usher, Fall of the House of Usher, and the other one was a
Lion,
different
the Witch, and
thing.
Wardrobe.
No, it was a different thing, and now I'm forgetting what it was. But yeah, gosh, what was it? Totally lost now, because I turned to Emily. I was like, "That is from this thing." I thought it was just earlier in the show or something. I don't remember what it was now, but there we go. That's all I got this week, Holden. Next week, what's going on?
Next week is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
No.
Jimmy's very excited for this one.
I'm going to go into it not seeing the original.
Yeah. So we'll bring that to you. Might have to do that remotely recording.
Yeah.
But just because of Christmas and everything. But we'll bring that to you. If you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at tompodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. I believe that's it, Jimmy.
Man. Is that the only thing coming out this week? Do we have Zack Snyder movie? When's Zack Snyder movie?
I feel like that's the week after. I feel like it's like end of the year, like weird New Year's kind
Rebel
of thing
Moon
happening.
Comes out Netflix release date is December 22nd.
Oh, so that is this week.
Can we just I don't want to see Aquaman 2, Holden. I don't want to go to that by myself. Maybe we'll see. Otherwise, we'll have Zack Snyder movie. What else comes out the week after? Is there anything else we need to see? The Boys in the Boat.
The Boys in the Boat. The Color Purple.
I don't need to see.
I don't need to see that either.
That.
I feel like because end of the year is always weird with Christmas and stuff. That might be it.
We could always do Zack Snyder movie this week and then Aquaman next week. So we can, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
We'll see.
We'll figure it out.
And just rewatch Napoleon, this year's best movie.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
That's it.
Well, with that, we're done.
There we go. We started with such great energy, Holden, at the beginning of the
Wow,
podcast,
we're
and
tired.
now it's over. We're fizzling out. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk at you next week. Adios, pantalones.
Love you.